No spin, no bias, no censorship. I'm Dan Wootton. This is Outspoken Live episode number 271. And breaking today, a new Reform UK war as Rael Braverman quits the party and his wife, Suella Braverman, the former Home Secretary, rules out joining herself over the continued influence of Zia Yusuf, himself a former Tory, on Nigel Farage.
Today we found out about one of the greatest political scandals in British history. 24,000 Afghans were granted asylum in the UK in 2023 by a Tory government at a cost of up to £7 billion. Now, this was because of a data leak that had happened, and the British people were never told about any of this because the government applied for a super injunction. Now, when that super injunction was applied for by the Tory government, Rishi Sunak was the Prime Minister, Suella Braverman was the Home Secretary, Robert Jenrick was the Immigration Minister.
But today, Yusuf stands accused of spreading lies about Superwoman Suella in the Afghan cover-up scandal. As there is growing outrage, Farage's party has welcomed Nut Zero proponent Ramona and ex-Conservative chair Jake Berry into the fold instead. Meanwhile, Reform also accused of ignoring rape gang victims by refusing to turn up at Rupert Lowe's inquiry at Westminster yesterday. So in my digest next, how can Reform govern the country when it can't even govern itself after the disastrous and very messy departures of Lowe, Ben Habib, James McMurdock, and now Braverman? Then we'll debate with my superstar panel. Its Father Calvin Robinson is joined today by independent journalist Emma Dunwell of E Speaks Freely. She is a contributor to Vox Populi too. Also coming up on the show today, the British deep state works with the MSM to continue the cover-up of the £7 billion Afghan migrant scandal as the BBC buries the story 22 minutes into its flagship bulletin to instead focus on the witch hunt against John Turode, who they have sacked from MasterChef. A new Katie Hopkins cancellation outrage as Rugby Council axes her batshit bonkers Britain tour just 3 days before the sold-out show, but she has reacted in true Hopkins style. I'll tell you what she's planning. And Prince Harry slammed for undermining the memory of Princess Diana with plans for a landmine stunt to try and take attention away from his peace talk leak with King Charles. Then, in the uncancelled after show over on Substack, proof Meghan Markle has been cosplaying Catherine, the Princess of Wales, and even Princess Diana since before she met Prince Harry. We'll get into the evidence with royal YouTube sensation P. Diner, and you can sign up to watch at www.outspoken.live. Of course, we'll also be revealing today's Greatest Britain and Union Jackass at the end of the show. The nominees are chosen by you. The winner is chosen by you. You can vote right now on the YouTube live chat. But here, who's up for it today? Zia Yusuf, nominated by Chris Davies for being Zia useless on steroids in his chairman, not chairman role. Ben Wallace, nominated by Based Gaze, hey, love the Based Gaze, for the Afghan resettlement scheme. And Lewis Goodall, nominated by Real McCass for slowly coming to the realization that the establishment are in fact against us. Who would have thought? Okay, lots of news to reveal to you in this digest. So let's go. What exactly does Zia Yusuf have on Nigel Farage? Now, that was a question being asked half in jest over the last few months, but now I genuinely mean it. Because Yusuf's increasingly dictatorial, bullying, disingenuous, and downright nasty behaviour is now tearing Reform UK apart internally. This is not a personal view of mine, but is rather based on many conversations with party insiders at all levels. And now Zia's misplaced notion that he is the future Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, the first Muslim Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, has cost Farage his number one Tory target to join Reform UK. Suella Braverman's highly respected husband, Rael Braverman, has today quit the party with a post on X, dashing all hopes that Superwoman Suella will join the UK's insurgent political force as Nigel, and let me tell you, he has been angling for this, over many, many months. So another one bites the dust, thanks to Zia. I mean, look, to lose Ben Habib could be regarded as misfortune. To lose Habib, Wayne Towler, James McMurdock, Matt Goodwin, and Rupert Lowe, in the most awful of circumstances, of course, Yusuf reported him to the police, looks like carelessness. But now it's actual lunacy, because an unelected political novice, who, let's remember, was himself a big-time Tory before the last election, is now causing the actual implosion of Reform UK from within, even though Reform UK is thrashing the Uni Party consistently in the polls. As one source, senior Reform UK source, told me today, with great sorrow, Zia is a roadblock to Reform being successful and is seen as a major problem both inside and outside the party. Now, I'm an independent journalist. You know I don't parrot Reform propaganda like this. But look, it's also ludicrous to suggest, like Yusuf has, that I'm some sort of enemy of the party. But the dissent at the moment is coming from all angles, with Lee Anderson now unhappy with Nigel Farage, and Sarah Pochen, the former Tory parachuted in, now unhappy with Lee Anderson. I mean, it's ludicrous. How can Reform govern the country when it can't even govern itself? The reality is that Zia Yusuf launched a deranged and targeted attack on Suella Braverman, suggesting she should be jailed to neutralise a threat, a personal threat to him, even though the former Home Secretary was not responsible for the Afghan migrant crisis or cover-up whatsoever. Yet Yusuf posted, when the Tories were booted out of office, the public didn't even know the worst of their crimes. That two of their, quote, good ones were Home Secretary and Immigration Minister when the government got a super injunction is a poetic irony. RIP the Tory party. He added, the list of former Tory ministers who should defect to Reform is shorter than the list that should probably be in jail. He then posted this video to the fury of many in Reform HQ, who find the bloke increasingly acting as if he is already the leader of the party rather than Nigel Farage.
Today we found out about one of the greatest political scandals in British history. 24,000 Afghans were granted asylum in the UK in 2023 by a Tory government at a cost of up to £7 billion. Now, this was because of a data leak that had happened, and the British people were never told about any of this because the government applied for a super injunction. Now, when that super injunction was applied for by the Tory government, Rishi Sunak was the Prime Minister, Suella Braverman was the Home Secretary, Robert Jenrick was the Immigration Minister. And get this, we know that of those 24,000 granted asylum to come here secretly, completely covertly, without any permission or knowledge of the British people, some had had previous claims for asylum to Britain rejected because of sex crimes. We also know that Afghans are more likely to commit a sex crime than any other nationality in the UK, and they are 10 times more likely to commit sex crimes than British people. That's according to Ministry of Justice figures that were released just a couple of months ago. This is a staggering scandal. And the fact, if £7 billion of British taxpayers' money can be spent to basically people smuggle 24,000 Afghans into this country without the British public knowing, what else could the government be doing? This is a betrayal of epic scandal. Richard Tice has an op-ed in the Telegraph today in which he uses the word treason. I think that is the operating word.
Okay, now they are great words, but unfortunately they are completely disingenuous. Completely disingenuous. Do you want to actually see what Richard Tice felt about the Afghan resettlement scheme when this was all going on? Well, I've got this to show you. From August the 12th, 2021, Richard Tice, then leader of Reform UK, posted, "We must protect those brave Afghans who helped us and their families by settling them in the UK. Simple, no ifs, no buts." And as Charlie Sansom said, what do you call a group of people that feign outrage about something they supported and then call for an inquiry into it? Now, the point is, it was only people like me and Suella Braverman who were saying, no, we can't take all of these Afghanis. Actually, we can't even take all of these people from Hong Kong. We certainly can't take all of these people from Ukraine. We are full. And by the way, this is not me defending the Conservative Party. If you heard me yesterday, you completely understand that what Rishi Sunak and Ben Wallace did was disgusting. It is one of the biggest scandals of all time. But what Zia Yusuf is doing is trying to blame Suella Braverman for personal political reasons. Suella has hit back today in a blistering letter just released. She writes, "In the noise and political chaos of Westminster, I've always promised to be straight talking and honest. So that is what I'm doing now. There are some basic facts which the public needs to know and should have known from the start. First, if a court issues an injunction relating to the government, ministers are prohibited from speaking publicly about the specific issues. Anyone who is claiming that those who have left government could or should have blown the whistle before the injunction was listed does not understand our legal or political system. Second, and for context, the Afghan response route was launched in April 2024 for those Afghan nationals affected by the leak. This was after I had left the government and I was not involved in its setup or functioning. Third, the mistaken data leak came from inside the Ministry of Defence. I was not a minister at that department and had no responsibility for officials working there. There is much more that needs to be said about the conduct of the MOD, both ministers and officials, and the House of Commons is the right place to do it. I hope we have the opportunity soon. Fourth, the then Defence Secretary, that's of course Ben Wallace, applied for the super injunction. As Home Secretary, I was not involved in that decision or application. Fifth, as Home Secretary in 2023, I opposed Ministry of Defence plans to bring in 24,000 Afghan nationals. Sixth and last, I left office in November 2023 because the then Prime Minister would not do what we had promised to do about stopping the boats. She adds, what has happened is outrageous and must never happen again. I feel only shame. This is why on election night last year I apologised for what we had got wrong. This is why I warned about the direction we were heading in back in 2023. The last Conservative government let you down. The cover-up was wrong. The super injunction was wrong. And the failure to stop unwanted mass immigration has been unforgivable. So I am sorry the Conservative government failed you and its leaders let you down. Now, surely, listening to that response, you would think that is the woman needed in Reform UK. Not some Ramona nobody like Jake Berry, who was actually chairman of the Conservative Party, but a principled woman who quit her job twice because she genuinely wants to save the United Kingdom. Now, Yusuf appeared on the Reform propaganda outfit GB News. I'm very sad that that's what they've become, but they are these days, this afternoon, looking chastened, but continuing his war on Suella.
The words of Suella Braverman that she felt herself that she was gagged. No, the super injunction also applied to parliamentarians, it applied to journalists, it applied to everybody in the land. To have broken that could have resulted in a prison sentence. That's a reality. We could like it or not. I certainly don't. As a journalist, I hate being gagged. I think it's against free speech. I think it's the wrong thing for the country. But Suella Braverman couldn't have broken that. Robert Jenrick couldn't have broken that. Do you admit that they had to obey the law?
I heard that statement for the first time live as Chopper read it. I agreed with the vast majority of that statement, and I'd encourage Suella to go and sign our petition if she believes that, because that's how you're going to get it. In terms of ministerial responsibility, sorry, you are responsible as a minister. And let's not forget, with all due respect to Suella, she didn't resign as a matter of principle. She was sacked.
He was then asked about Rael Braverman quitting today.
Rael Braverman, the husband of Suella Braverman, has quit your party this lunchtime. We don't know why. It could be because some of the criticism on Twitter from you and others at the party of the Tories. What's your comment on that? Will you miss him as being a member? He's been there since December last year.
I met Rael a few times, seemed like a perfectly personable guy. People are welcome to be a member. He had no official position. He was a member. People are free to join or resign as they please.
I mean, that's when someone like Zia Yusuf just turns into a typical politician, because that is, of course, totally disingenuous given the fanfare around Braverman's entry into the party. Now, I want you to be very clear, because I've been reporting on this longer than anyone else, closer than anyone else, and not signing up to any of the propaganda. Nigel Farage still wants Suella Braverman in Reform UK. He still wants her there today. He has told her to take her time. But Zia Yusuf, the biggest ego in British politics, a bloke who'd never been elected to anything, actually still hasn't, has just stopped that happening. Just like he forced out Rupert Lowe with that spurious police report. This egomaniac needs to go. Now, I do have more news on this. A number of senior Reform UK donors, one of whom I've spoken to directly, are now lobbying Farage to try and stop Zia Yusuf from running for the next safe Reform UK seat, which will likely come up in a by-election. That's the one, ideally, Lee Anderson hopes James McMurdock will just step down at, another one they've thrown under the bus. So I ask you again, what does Zia Yusuf have on Nigel Farage? Now, what's interesting today is that even GB News has reluctantly reported for the first time on the party's new civil war, with Charlie Peters writing on X, wasn't allowed to do it on air, but writing on X, the reform attacks on some Tory figures after the secret Afghan migration scandal was finally exposed has unsettled figures in both parties, according to sources from both camps. A source close to a major Tory figure regularly linked with reform said that Zia Yusuf had done serious damage to his party by accusing Tories of treason over the secret Afghan migrant settlement. Described as a political novice running around and causing trouble, the source said that his behaviour was a threat to the potential alignment of reform figures with natural political allies in the Tories such as Suella Braverman and Robert Jenrick. Now, of course, the other Reform UK exiles have welcomed Rael Braverman's decision to quit today. Advance UK leader Ben Habib wrote, "I am not surprised. Anyone with a coherent political philosophy which puts the country at its centre is bound to fall out with the bad joke that is reform." On Suella, he added, "I rate Suella more highly than any Reform MP, including Nigel Farage, and certainly higher than Zia Yusuf. The attacks on her by them is misplaced. She has spoken more bravely and with more coherence than any of the above. She has shifted the Overton window. Unlike them, she has been utterly consistent in her position. In attacking her, reform has yet again revealed its vacuousness." And Rupert Lowe pointed out, not for the first time, Zia Yusuf has tried to put his political opponents in prison. "If he had his way, I'd be in a jumpsuit," Rupert Lowe said. And as always, I would post this to him directly, but the brave little man has blocked me. Now look, Nigel Farage has been warned time and again about the damage Zia Yusuf is doing to his political movement. Sure, Reform UK way ahead in the polls at the moment, but the party's ex-chairman is fast turning off the entire base with his lies and his ego trips. That matters, and Farage should man up and put an end to it. Now, the Superstar panel. Emma Dunwell alongside Father Calvin Robinson today. Father Calvin, look, this Afghan migrant story, as you know, it is a scandal. It is one of the biggest cover-ups of all time. But what Zia Yusuf has done is blame the wrong person to try and make a political point. And that point has also been to undermine his leader, who up until yesterday was desperately trying to get Suella Braverman to Reform UK. Now, I think absolutely we need to go after the Tories for what they did on this cover-up and bringing in these 24,000 Afghan migrants. But the people to go after are Ben Wallace, who has refused to apologise even today, and Rishi Sunak. So what on earth do you think Nigel Farage is doing, allowing Zia Yusuf, this political novice, to run wild and cause this implosion within the party?
We have to ask, was this on purpose or by accident, right? I'm starting to think these things can't be on accident because he does them so often. Mohammed Zia Yusuf keeps undermining anyone that could be a political threat to himself. It seems that he does want to be the figurehead of reform. I'm surprised he's not jealous of Farage, but he does seem to be jealous of everyone else around him. And Suella Braverman is a fantastic British politician, one of the very few genuinely conservative politicians. And so Nigel Farage was right to want her in his party. And it seems as Mohammed Zia Yusuf is right in wanting to be cautious of her because she would, of course, outshine him. But he's not conservative. It's shocking to me that he's found this leadership position in a so-called right-wing party when he's clearly got vested interest in things that are not in line with conservatism. I happen to have been in DC with Suella and Rael back in January, I believe it was, at the inauguration, and they were both, talking about reform and how it could potentially be a future for British politics. And Suella was asking, what do you think? Potentially flirting with the idea of her moving over. And my advice then was the same advice I'd have now. It's not worth it. It's not genuinely a right-wing party. It's not genuinely a conservative party. It is a front for Nigel Farage, and it seems that front for Nigel Farage is becoming more of a front for Mohammed Zia Yusuf as well.
What do you think, Emma Dunwell, about this new reform civil war, which, I mean, they can't keep it together. It's constant, the rows in this party. Lee Anderson falling out with Nigel now, Sarah Pochin falling out with Lee Anderson, James McMurdock kicked out, Rupert Lowe kicked out. I mean, this is a mess.
Well, I mean, is the infighting new? I mean, I remember when Reform first kind of burst out the gate, and everyone was so excited because they were thinking, right, here is a party that's going to say what we're all thinking. They're going to fight for the hard policies. They're going to say the hard truths when it comes to migration, woke ideology and all of these things. And then I believe it was in October time, not long after Tommy Robinson had handed himself in or been arrested, whatever you want to call it, that they then referred to Tommy Robinson's supporters as that lot. And obviously,
yes,
they lost
Richard
a lot of their
Tice.
support.
That was Richard Tice on Camilla Tominay's show on
Yes.
GB News.
Yeah, I remember
That
watching
lot.
it.
That's
and
you, Emma. You're
yeah,
that
yeah,
lot.
exactly. That was me. That lot, far right thug because I'm just so terrifying. But this is what Reform has been doing ever since. There's been infighting. They've been going back and forth. 1 minute, they want closed borders. They're really strong on immigration, legal and illegal. And then all of a sudden, it's gone to this one in, one out. And you can't help but wonder if it's because all of the people that had a backbone, such as Rupert Lowe, Ben Habib, and people like this, have been exiled from the party for talking about exactly that, Tommy Robinson and the hard truths. It seems that Reform want all of the credit for tackling these issues without actually having to say what the issue is. I mean, they just avoid everything, even right down to when Zia Yusuf called Rael Braverman a perfectly personable person. Is that what he said?
Yes.
I mean, it's just so vague, isn't it? There's no humanity in it. I think that they are just becoming conservative 2.0. They're not strong enough to actually get anything done, but they're still trying to travel under that guise because, like Father Calvin said, it's the Nigel Farage show. It's all a front for him.
Farage and Yusuf these days. There is a lot of fury, by the way, about the fact that no one from Reform UK attended the first day of Rupert Lowe's rape gang inquiry at Westminster yesterday, which had a whole load of incredible survivors there. So Lee Anderson posted tonight's tipple, and it tastes beautiful. First time I've tried it. It won't be the last. So there he is with his pint. But Sammy Woodhouse, the incredible rape gang survivor and campaigner, replied, "Was you and Reform too busy today to attend the event held in Westminster with survivors' families and whistleblowers, Lee? Reform didn't attend, but Labour did. Wowzers." And that prompted Reform UK ex-MP Rupert Lowe himself to weigh in, writing, "It's disappointing that you or anybody from Reform didn't make the effort to meet the 60 rape gang survivors in Westminster today. To be honest, 2 Labour MPs came, and I thank them for that. You were invited. You could have found the time. Clearly, you have it." And someone replied, were all Reform MPs invited, Rupert? And Rupert replied, yes, and added, none came. Father Calvin, that feels like a pretty shocking decision.
It is. Firstly, it's quite bold for two Labour MPs to attend such an event because the Labour Party is officially in favour of Pakistani Muslim grooming gangs and rape gangs at this point in time. They are complicit in the cover-up. But for two of them to attend is wonderful to see. But for no Reform members, it's low-hanging fruit for Reform. They should be at the front of the line saying this is a disaster, what's happening to our young girls. They're being raped by 4% of the demographics, accounting for 65% of the child sexual abuse. Like there's something clearly wrong with the Pakistani Muslim demographic in our country. We need mass deportation. We need repatriation. We need to address this issue. This should be Reform's number one concern after mass immigration. It should be the Pakistani Muslim rape gangs. So for them to not attend just shows that, again, it's all about them. If it's not their policy, if it's not their event, they're not interested. Well, they should be, because it's about this country. It's about Great Britain. And if they cared about Great Britain and the people of Great Britain, they would make an effort to be there.
Yeah, because of course, Emma Dunmore, the person who was there, is James McMurdock, the now ex-Reform UK MP. And one of the reasons, apparently, Reform was so desperate to get rid of this guy is because he had supported Rupert Lowe and this rape gang inquiry.
Well, once again, it's the typical game of we're not friends with that person, so you can't be friends with that person. And if you are, you're not in the group anymore, so to speak. And when it comes to the matter of grooming gangs and child exploitation and sexual abuse, it's not something that should be played with. People need to... it's really not that complicated. People just need to stop fighting over all these petty little differences and about like, oh, I said it first. No, I said it first. Oh, no, well, I said it like this and I said it like that. Just come together for the children, for the victims. I mean, these people have been groomed from young ages. Some of them still with criminal records. They need to come together over this issue, if any issue.
The Afghan migrant cover-up is so clearly one of the worst scandals in British history for so many reasons, especially because of the fact that the government took out a super injunction to stop the media even being able to report the existence of an injunction. And the fact is, there may well now be over 100,000 Afghanis pouring in, including dangerous terrorists, according to Dominic Cummings, including sexual offenders, according to the Daily Mail. And trust me, including members of ISIS and Al-Qaeda who were double agents pretending to work for the United Kingdom. Not to mention the fact that all of these people are allowed to bring their dependents, in one case 14 dependents. Now, Mike Jones posted yesterday, is this Britain's Watergate? Honestly, I think it is. And I will give credit where it's due to the mainstream newspapers today who did understand the significance of this story. Front page of the Daily Telegraph, front page of the Financial Times, front page of the Daily Mail, which actually led the charge in court. Likewise, the iPaper, Metro News, and the Times. But I was completely disgusted, but not surprised, with our so-called national broadcaster, the British Bashing Corporation, which decided yesterday to be complicit in this cover-up, which decided yesterday that this is not only not one of the biggest stories of recent months, of recent years, potentially of all time, but it's not even the biggest story of the day. And guess what? The British Bashing Corporation buried this story 22 minutes into its flagship bulletin and instead decided to lead on Donald Trump bashing, as usual, and you're not going to believe it, their own minor woke scandal, the sacking of John Turode for using a so-called racial term outside of work at a time that he doesn't remember and in a place that no one remembers. This is a joke, an absolute joke. As Dominic Cummings pointed out, very logical for the BBC to lead on MasterChef. Can't have the plebs seeing the way Wallace, referring to Ben Wallace, not Greg Wallace, by the way, if there's any confusion, and Whitehall spent billions secretly importing thousands of Afghans and families and hiding it with the super injunction, or the plebs might do some far-right rioting. Remember, the real disinformation is the regime media. And I couldn't agree with them more. I was completely disgusted by this. Indeed, I reached out to Deborah Turnus, the chief executive of the British Bashing Corporation news operation. What are you doing? How is your news judgment so appalling that you do not understand that this is the most important story of the year? Well, I'll tell you why. Because you don't want the people to know the truth. The deep state works with the mainstream media as enemies of our country. And for people who have been calling me a conspiracy theorist for saying this for the past 5 years, to hell with you. Oh, by the way, Sly News was in on it as well, deciding the biggest story of the day yesterday was John Torode. Can you believe that? Well, sadly, I can. Now, what's so interesting about this is, do you remember little Lewis Goodall? You know, that weird little lefty who presents the fake news agents but used to be a part of the regime media at the British Bashing Corporation? Well, he has all of a sudden started to sound a little bit like me, because he views this scandal as his scoop, you see. By the way, little Lewis, it's not your scoop. It was the Daily Mail scoop. You heard about it secondhand, but you were the first listed on the injunction because the Daily Mail had done a dodgy deal with the Ministry of Defence not to publish the story. Those are the facts, by the way. But little Lewis views this as his scoop. And because this is his scoop, he's sort of stamping his feet on the ground and saying, why are people not covering this? Why are the politicians not discussing this? Why are the British Bashing Corporation not leading on this story? I'll tell you why, little Lewis. And you should maybe open your eyes, because these people don't want the truth out there. So little Lewis posted on X after PMQs today a stunning and shameful PMQs. Parliament has been denied its right to scrutinise the government for 2 years via a constitutionally unprecedented super injunction. Huge amounts of public money has been spent in secret. 100,000 Afghans put in danger. Did any backbench MP get up and ask the PM about it? Express any outrage as a democratically elected politician? Ask the PM to rule out it ever happening again? No, not a word. Pathetic. Instead, stupid jokes, jibes, chat about cricket and bypasses. If Parliament doesn't want to defend its own right, who will? And I mean, the irony is, he is completely right about this. But as I replied to him on X, all of a sudden, little Lewis is waking up and realised the UK's deep state, including his ex-bosses at the British Bashing Corporation and the Uni Party, aren't on the side of the people. Where have you been the last 5 years, bozo? And that's why I have absolutely no sympathy for someone like him. Someone who's part of the system. Someone who gives these politicians a complete free platform every single day to lie and to mislead. And actually, the people who I respect on both the left and the right realise that this scandal and what this scandal says about where our country is at is actually so significant, because it marks a fundamental breaking down in the trust between government and the people. Like Colin Brazier, the brilliant Colin Brazier, who posted, "Britain is becoming a cautionary tale. A 67 million people warning to the rest of the Western world on how not to handle an excess of migration and multiculturalism, identity politics, and Islamism." And what about Paul Embry, who said, "I'm not sure how long a country can hold together when so many in positions of authority, those who run its national, local, corporate, voluntary and educational institutions, have a worldview that is so far removed from the opinions of millions of mainstream voters, and worse, often consider those opinions to be toxic and worthy of suppression. That kind of deep ideological divergence between the ruling elites and large swaths of the populace is unlikely to end well." And from Matt Goodwin, who's finally started to speak out against Reform UK, who said, "I have to say, I've never been as disillusioned with British politics and the state as I am today. This is just wild. Deliberately concealing information from the media, from Parliament, from citizens. This is neither the country I know nor one that I recognise." to my superstar panel, Emma Dunwell and Father Calvin Robinson. Father Calvin, it's all well and good for Lewis Goodall to be outraged now. But this is not new, is it? And I'm sorry, he has been part of the problem for years. And it's so shocking to me that he only cares now because this is his story. He didn't give a damn when the deep state wanted to overturn the biggest vote in British history in terms of the Brexit referendum. He didn't give a damn when the deep state were doing the most, I guess, I would say morally corrupt things during the COVID pandemic. And I'm sure you would agree, Father Calvin, if it even was a pandemic. The plandemic, maybe we should say that.
Indeed. Lewis Goodall has not had a good history in any of these topics. But I think I'm more surprised that this is a state cover-up, that it's the establishment itself has not just been complicit, but has orchestrated this. Because for years we've been saying, look, it's the lefty lawyers, and I tweeted just this morning, there was a foreign lawyer, I think a Somali man, who was fighting in a previous story to keep an Afghanistani sexual offender in Britain because it would be unsafe for him to return back to Afghanistan due to a threat of violence because he is a sexual offender. And I'm sat there thinking, well, yes, surely that's a good thing. Secondly, it's very sad that it's safer in our country for sexual offenders than it is in Afghanistan. And thirdly, so what? Why is that a reason to keep? We would rather keep a sexual offender here because it's safer for them here. What about the victims? What about the women? How should we not be protecting our women? And so for so long we've been saying, look, it's these lefty lawyers, it's these foreign lawyers, it's these people that don't have a vested interest in our country, that actually are working against our country, and they're fighting the establishment with these human rights laws. But it turns out all along, the government has been not just complicit, but orchestrating this whole thing and importing vast swathes of Afghanistanis here without our knowledge, without our consent, without a mandate. Like, who are they working for? Who are they representing?
I mean, Emma, Father Calvin is completely right, but you look at that graph, right, and I mean, it just shows you number one on the list. Sexual assault, Afghanistan. I mean, you're a young woman. And look at what happened at the Bell Hotel in Essex this week. Oh, in fact, by the way, I've got to show you this video of Tommy Robinson posted it, but it's of some patriots who decided to raise the St. George's flag at the Bell Hotel in London this week. But I mean, there is going to be, Emma, and let's not beat around the bush, there is going to be a direct impact on young British women being unsafe on the streets as a result of this scandal. And then you've got the British Bashing Corporation not even thinking that this is the third biggest story of the day. I mean,
it doesn't get much worse than this, really.
It doesn't.
And you
It
really
doesn't.
cannot write it. It sounds like something out of a really dark comedy sketch. As you said, obviously, yeah. I'm a young woman. I think about these kinds of issues all the time. I mean, growing up, any girl my age or a similar age will agree with me that we've always grown up being told, don't go home alone in the dark, hold your keys, between your knuckles so you can kind of use them to jab or whatever. We're not even allowed to carry pepper spray. The only thing that a woman is actually allowed to legally carry in order to protect herself is a rape alarm. And we all know how effective those are. I mean, we were advised in high school to shout fire instead of rape because chances are you'll get more help.
God, that's
but
so
I mean,
shocking.
Going right back to this is an imported issue, right? And like Father Calvin said, we thought that it was imported from all of the virtue signaling. We thought it was perhaps a byproduct of the virtue signaling and of the extreme left-leaning that our government has gone to. Now we're starting to see that it really is coming from a state level, which is even scarier, but it's just confirming what we already thought. I mean, people such as Stephen Wolfe have been pioneering, trying to create their own data sets to show us what the real numbers of immigration are, whether that be legal or illegal. And again, the reason why they don't want us to know about this is because we're seeing our own liberties being taken away. We're seeing our own quality of life being stamped on. I mean, I will never, ever stop bringing up the winter fuel payments issue, because it's just something that absolutely broke my heart. As someone who cared for my nan and used to go and sit in the lounge with all of her friends, and to think of all of their faces, cold, lonely and scared, it's enough to bring anyone to tears. And this is why people are so angry. This is why they don't want us to know, because they know that there would be civil unrest. We'd see more things like the Bell Hotel and Southport.
Yes.
And it'd be just another opportunity for them to say, oh, we're all
Yes.
far-right thugs.
Of course.
But the reality is we're citizens that are scared for our future.
Yes, of course we are. But the thing is, Emma, the whole apparatus of the state, including, by the way, I mean, I actually now include the British Bashing Corporation as part of the deep state. I have for some time. It is all designed to say, oh, just don't you worry your little head about it. And if you do, you're a far-right lunatic and we're going to slam you. And I mean, Father Calvin, citizen journalism is now so important in all of this. I mean, I was very taken by this post from Dan Dislocated Time on X, who has blown the whistle a bit on this Afghan cover-up. And he wrote, Father Calvin, I was still in the army whilst the Afghans arrived, settled in soldiers' accommodation, driving unregistered vehicles around, dozens of men hanging around at all hours of the night, no women to be seen, as kept inside. Military families felt unsafe. Service wives afraid to leave their houses. This has directly had an impact on military retention and ruined marriages. Untold harm. Imagine being a private on £1,600 a month when the man with 3 wives and 7 kids gets £5,000+ as he leers at your wife. This is a national disgrace. And I just thought, Calvin, is he not summing something up that you will never hear about in the mainstream media?
Absolutely. We hear these on-the-ground testimonies from people who have served in Afghanistan and talk about how evil an ideology Islam is, how these men would use their wives and daughters as shields, as bullet shields, and how they would rape the young male servicemen because they have sex with anything, including goats. It's an evil culture, an evil ideology, and one that we should keep far away from Britain. But we've obviously been taken over by this liberal idea that all faiths, all cultures are equal and everyone should be welcome and we should be inclusive. No, we should not be tolerant of evil. We should not be more inclusive. We should be more exclusive, actually. And it's grave error for the government to be importing massive people that have contradictory values to our own. At some point, you know, we're all going to get sick and tired of the establishment, whether it's the state or the mainstream media, calling us all far-right loons. Eventually, we're going to become far-right loons because at some point, the only answer to all of this is fascism and violence, and it's being brought upon us by the lefties and by the liberals.
It really is. And I think we're at that point. I mean, I do. And I think a story like this, I mean, why did Rishi Sunak's government take out a super injunction? Because they didn't want us to have this information while we were voting. And it's not that we were going to vote for the Conservatives. I mean, I didn't. I wouldn't vote for the Conservatives probably again after 14 years of failure. It's not about that. It's about that this could have completely changed the election result. I've seen people arguing that the election should be rerun, that this was so anti-democratic what happened. And I actually don't disagree with that at all. I think it is completely disgusting. A scandal on so many ways. I hope and I pray that people start waking up. Breaking right now, Katie Hopkins has been cancelled again in the most despicable manner. And I really think it's time that people start rising up against these types of free speech outrages. And so does Katie, by the way. She has a plan. I'll take you through it in just one moment. But first, I want to explain what's happened here. So as she first revealed earlier today, fully sold out for 4 months, cancelled with 3 days' notice, Rugby Council must allow my show to go ahead. Taxpayer-funded idiocy. PS, do come to Cardiff. And you'll see there the headline from the BBC, delighting in the fact that the batshit bonkers Britain event in rugby has been cancelled, despite the fact it's sold out. So how on earth does the deep state justify it this time? Well, this is what the Rugby Borough Council have had to say. The Ben Hall is primarily a family venue with many community events and activities from musical shows to antiques fairs. We want to support all our communities and their interests with safe, fun activities that everyone can enjoy. Since concerns about the batshit bonkers Britain tour booking were first raised with us, we have taken advice from a variety of partner organisations, including the Warwickshire Police, about the context and safety implications of this performance. We are aware of a planned protest on the evening of the performance with significant numbers of individuals and organisations indicating their intention to attend. Because we are responsible for event safety and cannot guarantee the safety of ticket holders or protesters, we have cancelled the booking. Ticket holders should contact the promoter for information on refunds. We understand the depth of feeling this matter has invoked. We will review the Ben Hall booking policy and debate it at a forthcoming meeting of the council. Well, go to hell, Rugby Council. This is not your decision. This is utterly, utterly despicable. It is anti-democratic. It proves that free speech is now at threat throughout the United Kingdom. And by the way, wasn't rugby the same place that that lovely young lady yesterday was told off about wearing the Union Jack dress, sent home, actually, from school? I mean, what is going on when it comes to true patriots? Well, in this case, Katie Hopkins is not taking it lying down. This, in the past hour, Katie has gone public saying, come on, Rugby Council leader Dan Green, come on Ben Hall, come on Warwickshire Police. Let people decide who they come to see. Want to come? Buy a ticket, sold out. Want to protest? Here's your spot. Let's get this Saturday night back on. And she has included, attached to this post, an email sent, you will see there, directly to seemingly the representative in rugby, Dan Green. And she has written, "Dear team, I have just spoken with Warwickshire Police and understand conversations are ongoing to allow our event to proceed. Our incident number is 1831-607-2025. I will be at the Ben Hall on Saturday. Let's make this happen. Everyone will be so delighted. There is a really great outcome to be had here and a win for everyone. I can help make this okay. Trust me, we can move forwards together. Our audience are delightful. We will all have a lovely time and the businesses in town will do really well. You are all invited to my lovely show. See you Saturday, Katie Hopkins." So to my superstar panel, Emma Dunwell and Father Calvin Robinson. Father Calvin, I think this is an absolutely brilliant twist in the story from Katie Hopkins, because we've seen over the last couple of years where she's been in tears, she's been sobbing, she's been devastated because she feels so distraught when ticket holders have their plans cancelled at the last minute for political reasons. I mean, she is absolutely a victim of deep state political persecution and has been for some time. But I think what's really clever about what Katie Hopkins is doing here today is she's saying, look, you don't have a problem with my crew. The people attending batshit bonkers Britain, they're not going to be violent. They're not going to be causing any trouble. So we're going to be there. We're going to be there. And you either let us in to the Ben Hall in rugby, or we are going to be there anyway. And I think she is absolutely right to do this. Do you?
It's a very smart move. You know what? I love Katie Hopkins. I think she's one of the most resilient women in the media. She's been ostracized. She's been painted as a villain for years, yet she keeps standing up and getting back on with it. She's carved out a niche for herself in comedy, and people love her act. People go to support her. And time again, the establishment keeps trying to just put the nail back in and keep her down. And she stands back up. So bless her for that. Because, you know, how much work goes into organizing these events. For it to be cancelled 3 days before the event, it's too narrow a time. You can't do anything about it. It's too late by then, right? It's a waste of money, waste of time, waste of effort. So well done for Katie for just saying, well, we're just going to do it. Let's just do it. Let's like getting the police on board and going ahead. And I hope people turn up, and I hope it's a successful event. And I hope that, you know, the hall and the council back down and let it go ahead, because it will be good fun for everyone. And she's right. It will be a win for everyone. It will be a win for the council to show that they are in favour of free speech. They're not trying to, be vindictive and cancelling her on her at the last moment. It'll be a win for the venue and the town because they'll make some money in tourism. It'll be a win for the people who turn up to see just a good night of comedy.
I mean, Emma, you do only see this on one side of the entertainment spectrum. You never see shows by Nish Kumar or Frankie Boyle or any of those other vile left-wing comics. You know, Joe Brand, do you remember, who suggested that Nigel Farage be doused with battery acid? You never see their shows being cancelled. And by the way, none of us would ever call for their shows to be cancelled. None of us would bother to protest outside a left-wing comics show, no matter how vile they are. So this is persecution, isn't it, of not just Katie Hopkins, but her audience, who are, can I just remind everyone, the vast majority of this country.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's call it what it is. This is political discrimination.
Yes,
which is becoming all too common. I mean, I think that in fact, no, all of the people that would go to Katie Hopkins' show, I've been to see Katie Hopkins before. She's absolutely hilarious, right? And I can say that judging on the jokes that she says, no one's going to be bringing their children, which means that everyone going there in attendance is a consensual adult that is old enough to make their own decisions, old enough to decide who they want to go and see, who they don't want to go and see. And if someone has bought a ticket to go and see Katie Hopkins, it is not anyone else's job to tell them that they may be offended or there may be some risk here. And even if you are offended, one, comedy shows are probably not the best place for you. And two, you can be offended. That's okay. Nothing happens to you. You just go about the rest of your day being offended if you want to. But I mean, this speaks to a broader theme of it's what you're talking about. Katie Hopkins is hilarious, I mean, in my view, and I'm very happy that I'm going to see her again next week at one of our shows that has not been cancelled. Fingers crossed, touch wood. But like I said, this is a stamp down on free speech, even now verging into the comedy world, simply because Katie Hopkins has been involved. You know, she's been on TV, she's been a public figure for years now. But going into comedy is the one place where people should be able to say anything because it's under the guise of a joke. People can have a laugh. You can laugh at, dark humor. A lot of people share the love of dark humor, but it's simply because of her public past that she's not allowed to.
I know.
And this is why I said it comes down to political discrimination.
I mean, what does she do? I mean, honestly, the depersoning of Katie Hopkins, honestly, I'm going to say it right now, is one of the biggest disgraces of the past decade. She was simply ahead of her time. That was it. And she should still be on Question Time today, but she's not. But thank God, because of this independent media revolution, she actually makes more impact. I mean, I'm pretty sure she said that her batshit bonkers Britain's daily clips are now more watched than anything in the mainstream media. And I'm not surprised because, well, let's look at her. Let's look at what you get from Katie Hopkins, because there'll be some people saying, well, what do you get from Katie Hopkins? I'll show you her batshit bonkers Britain video today, which was totally typical of what she does every day. Hilarious. Sometimes you might disagree. That's fine. Sometimes you might think she's gone too far. Sometimes you're probably nodding there thinking, yes, Katie, why is no one else saying it? Watch this.
Here in batshit bonkers Britain, where some idiot in the military leaked the names of the Afghans that worked with the British military when we were on deployment in Afghanistan. As such, they had to be brought over to the UK, plus their families, plus their children's, plus their cousins and their second cousins, who many of them were actually married to in the first place, at a total cost of $7 billion to the taxpayer, at the same time as we couldn't afford to help the elderly heat their homes in the winter, but we could afford to bring half of Afghanistan here because some pilot doesn't know how to use email. Okay, perfect. In other news, Kew Gardens and the brilliant Palm hothouse that's been there since 1848. Well, that whole thing is going to be ripped down in order to make it net zero compliant. They're going to rip out the gas boilers that work perfectly well and have done since the beginning of time, put in heat pumps that don't work, and in order to do this, we'll shut the whole thing for 5 years, spend 50 million quid on it, and fell the largest plants that are in the hothouse that have been there for centuries. I mean, nothing says environmentally friendly like just chopping down plants for no reason. And finally, MasterChef. The two white guys have been binned off so they can be replaced with someone more appropriate. I mean, maybe the incredible bulk, Alison Hammond. She's doing so well on Monjaro. She's already lost 11 stone, so only another 142 to go. And then maybe they could find, I don't know, a gay, black, disabled vegan, someone maybe lactose intolerant with a nut allergy. That would be just perfect. That's it, my darlings. Batshit bonkers Britain.
And there you go, right? Like, I mean, honestly, Father Calvin, I listened to that and I mean, oh, what does she call Alison Hammond? The incredible bulk. I actually have a major soft spot for Alison Hammond, but that's the point. You don't have to agree with everything that Katie Hopkins says. She's hilarious. She's on the money. She uses her comedy to raise incredibly important points. But I'm sorry, there is nothing within that batshit bonkers Britain that should make a council or the police think that this is something we must shut down.
That was all light-hearted, observational humour.
Yes.
And you know what? It's actually really difficult because I'm going to say something controversial here in that women are not naturally funny, right? There are not that many good female comedians, right?
Okay, Joan Rivers. Joan Rivers. I put to you, Joan Rivers.
Again, the exception that proves the rule in that women are not naturally funny. We don't tend to laugh with women comedians as a rule. But Katie Hopkins proved that wrong because she's hilarious. And I want to be offended. To Emma's point, I want to be offended by a comedian. I want a comedian to make me think, oh my gosh, did they just say that? You know, I want a reaction. I want to laugh at the dark humor because it's a good way to release the stresses and anxieties of modernity, to get it all out of our system. It's actually therapy. Comedy is therapy. And so what she's doing is a good thing for society. And for the council to try and silence and censor it is just another sign of the woke times, isn't it?
I mean, it really is. But I've got to let Emma come back on the women are not funny line. Did you agree, Emma? I mean, well, I have to say, I'm watching a lot of Joan Rivers at the moment, and I keep thinking, my God, we need more people like her, because she honestly made me laugh in a way I don't think any other woman had.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'll admit, you know, there is kind of that running theme of everyone who's trying to be funny is kind of like Amy Schumer-esque, you know, which I'll admit I never found Amy Schumer funny either. But, you know, I find myself to be quite a hoot. So, you know, we might disagree on that one. But no, I mean, Katie is just an absolute force of nature. And like Father Calvin said, there is nothing in that video that she said that is particularly, you know, I don't know, rude or offensive actually. But even if it was, like Father Calvin said, I want to be offended by comedy, make me laugh, push the boundaries. You know, I mean, even with movie, I mean, I don't know if any of you guys watched it, but one of my favorite movies is a film called White Chicks, and that is literally when two black guys dress up as white women, and you know, but it's hilarious. Now I should be offended by that. I'm actually naturally blonde, so I should be offended, but I'm not. It's one of my favorite movies. Comedy, that's what comedy is. If you can't handle it, don't go to the show.
I can't say
Can we
I've
just
ever
point
seen
out that Joan Rivers was the first to let us know about Big Mike?
Ah, well, there we go. Oh, yeah, I remember that video. Yeah, well, there we go.
And then she died.
This is why people who talk and who really want to say it how it is, this is why they get shut down.
Look at what happens when you expose the Obamas. But no, look, I'm going to be fascinated to see what happens on Saturday, because in the past, Katie has sort of walked away when these cancellations have taken place. This is a very different approach. She's like, I will be there. My audience will be there. I sort of have visions of like Katie doing her show on the steps. Do you know what I mean? Seeing like just maybe gathering a bigger crowd. I think this is going to be great. I'm very fascinated to see what happens. And I think rugby and the Rugby Council, the weaklings at the Rugby Council, have maybe bitten off more than they can chew in this case. Breaking today, growing fury within the royal family that after leaking the King Charles peace talks to a favoured media outlet, Prince Harry is now intending to cheapen Princess Diana's memory with a third copycat landmine stunt. So do you remember when Princess Diana, just before her death in 1997, made this walk across the landmine field in Angola with the Red Cross? It was a genuinely game-changing moment. At that point, no one knew about the plight of landmines in Angola. Yes, Diana was criticised by some conservative politicians at the time who thought that she was wading too close into political waters, although she was divorced and she didn't feel that's what she was doing. She felt it was a humanitarian trip. But at the end of the day, it was a genuine passion project that had genuinely garnered no attention. Just like with everything that Diana did. I was a huge fan of Princess Diana. If you think about shaking AIDS patients' hands or talking about her own personal battle with bulimia or visiting the homeless. She was a genuine original. But what Prince Harry is doing with this stunt is to try and divert and distract from the fact that yet again, his team and his wife have betrayed his father, King Charles, and I'm not going to be sucked in to his latest piece of propaganda. I mean, as Meghan's mole posted, Prince Harry using his deceased mother for PR by walking through landmines in 2010 and 2019. Let your mother rest in peace, you dimwit. Or Marcus Claw, who made the good point that Harry said to John Travolta, I was 1 year old when you danced with my mum, as you've told everybody here and continue to dine out on that probably every single night, at the same time as Harry can't come up with any new, genuine projects of his own, but knows that there is a very cynical way to manipulate the media by constantly cosplaying in the way that Princess Diana did. So to my superstar panel, Father Calvin Robertson and Emma Dunwell. Father Calvin, look, I want to talk about this leak in just one moment, but first, is there not something a little bit off about Harry almost any time he needs a publicity boost, thinking, oh, I'm going to do the same thing that my mum did because Diana was so beloved, I'm so hated, so that the more that I invoke her and the more that I use her memory and the more that I bring her into the conversation. I mean, Meghan Markle even released her goddamn wine on Princess Diana's birthday. Do you think the more that he does that, the more that the public wake up, or is it working? Are people sucked in by this?
It's twisted, isn't it? I'm trying to work out if it's Harry or Meghan that started all of this, because of course we've seen so many photographs of Meghan wearing the exact same outfit as Princess Diana and trying to mirror her. It's very, very creepy. And then of course the whole idea that Harry has married someone who's trying to imitate his mother. And again, it was all very weird. So I don't know who's responsible for it, but yes, it absolutely needs to stop. There is an element of idolatry in here, in that because she is dead, we hold Princess Diana up on this pedestal. Like, of course, she wasn't this perfect woman. However, to keep dialing in on it, keep cashing in on her and using her image to try and help theirs is just despicable, really. Just leave her to rest in peace.
Yeah, I actually totally agree. Do you, Emma?
I think that Meghan Markle is a complete narcissist. I think that, I mean, it's the privacy tour all over again. You know, that South Park episode, I mean, it's literally that come to life. They're going around the world saying, we want privacy. They clearly can't want that much anymore. The fact that I mean, literally those photos that you were just pulling up there of Markle copying the outfits of like Princess Kate and Diana as well. I mean, it's just like Father Calvin said, it's very, very creepy. And this is a woman who has constantly come out and said that, she's been treated poorly by the royal family, that they're racist, and all these things. And yet clearly she is trying to do everything in her power to be the new face of the royal family and for the old one to be left behind. And I think that Harry is just completely under the thumb. I think he's just going along with everything that she says. It's like a different kind of virtue signaling. I mean, especially with the pictures, the landmine pictures. It's a different kind of virtue signaling. And when you're mirroring your own deceased mother in that big of a public eye, you can't help but wonder if the motivations are as pure as Diana's were, which I don't think they are.
No, I really don't think they are at all either. And I have to say, Father Calvin, this is where I do have genuine sympathy and empathy for Prince William. Well, I guess I should say sympathy because I haven't been through this myself, thank God. But he made this absolute solemn vow with Prince Harry on the 20th anniversary of Princess Diana's death to stop any form of cashing in publicly on her memory. He just wasn't going to have it anymore. So any celebrations in terms of anniversaries or birthdays would be conducted in private. And of course, it was Meghan Markle's influence that blew that out of the water. And I just feel like it's just another betrayal, isn't it? Like, you shouldn't make that sort of deal. Very, very clear, solemn pact. We're going to let our mother rest in peace now. You shouldn't make that type of agreement if you cannot stick by it, stick to it.
Yeah, that was a very noble gesture, I think, between the boys at that time, because everyone was cashing in on the mother. The merchandise, you can still buy it in London tourist shops. The newspapers, the tabloids still love any excuse to splash Diana on the front cover because they know it sells. They know she sells. And so the boys were like, well, the world is trying to sell our mother. Let's not do the same, and let's try and stop them from doing it. So not only did they form this pact to not publicly cash in on her name, but they also agreed to take on the paparazzi and the tabloid media. That was their first real campaign together. And you're absolutely right in that Meghan Markle undermined all of that. And she instead said, well, we can cash in on her if everyone else is going to. And that's what they've done ever since, it seems. Not just, and those pictures you were showing, of course, of Meghan copying Diana were quite sick. But then to see Harry dressed up in exactly the same uniform as his mother in the same spots, taking the same photographs. That's beyond bizarre for a young man to be doing that of his dead mother. Like there's a weird kind of, I don't want to use the word creepy too much, but it is just creepy.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. A therapist would have to spend years studying this pair to truly understand the levels of narcissism and the levels of degeneracy that are going on here.
Yeah, no, totally. And the thing is, it's all he's got. And I think Emma Calvin is really good in terms of pointing out that huge hypocrisy going on, because when Harry left the royal family and there were a whole load of lies and there was a whole loads of hysteria and the Oprah Winfrey interview and all of that, but one of the main things that he kept talking about were the leaks. And he said it was the leaks. It's the way the royal family are working with the media, the leaks. And I mean, he hated my own personal involvement in this. The fact that I would receive many leaks about Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's terrible behavior, shocking behavior, why the Queen didn't like what they were doing, what their plans were. And yes, I did reveal them. My job was a journalist. I did reveal them, especially when there was bad behavior going on and all of those fallouts. But what I find so fascinating is that, have you noticed, all of those leaks from within the royal family have stopped now, the moment that Harry and Meghan are out of the scene. And where are the leaks coming from? From Montecito. So King Charles makes this decision to host these peace talks with two of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's staff members, Meredith Maines and Liam Maguire. They sit purposefully outside at a private members club, knowing full well that they could be photographed there. Now, if they didn't want these photographs to run, I think they could have made a strong argument about that, because there's actually rules that it's potentially against the law to photograph someone on private property, even if you were standing on public property. But the fact is, this was all engineered. And then since this story emerged, it gets even crazier, Emma. Harry has continued to leak. Or Harry and Meghan have continued to leak. Their team have. So we've had stories in People magazine about what happened within these talks. We've had stories in Vanity Fair about exactly what happened in these talks. And the leaks also keep coming to this new woman, Charlotte Griffiths, at the Mail on Sunday. Now, my point being, is there not a huge irony, Emma, in the fact that these two put so much stock in the fact that they had to leave the country, they had to leave the royal family because of these leaks to the media, but now they spend all day, every day, leaking to the bloody media. It's like, do they not get it? Do they not understand how ludicrous they look?
Oh, no, I mean, to put it very bluntly, Harry and Meghan never shut up. And
Yes.
considering that they were trying to spend so long trying to get the royal family to supposedly shut up, it is very ironic. I mean, this is complete, absolute rumor, but it is rumored that it was Meghan who got in contact with the paparazzi during the Peace Summit in order for those photographs to be taken. So,
well, it wouldn't surprise me.
No, it wouldn't. But this goes back to the point of, is Meghan Markle actually narcissistic? Because she certainly acts that way. Like I said, they've been wanting so-called privacy, and then look what happens. Harry writes a book. They're going on Oprah. Meghan's got her show where, oh God, that was painful. I couldn't even get through half an episode. It was awful, and it was like all this fake friends. I'm forgetting her name.
Mindy Kaling.
Yes. Right. When she went on, there was this so fake friendship that was actually hard to watch. And anyone who has a genuine friend or has ever had a genuine friend in their life will have been able to see through it. But the fact that Meghan and Harry are still sat there going like, oh, no, that's going to land well with the public. That's going to land well with the public. Just shows you how out of touch they are. They are never going to be in touch with the public.
Totally.
And they're never going to actually go for privacy because they want to be in the public eye. They want to be loved and revered like Diana was, which is never going to happen.
So true. And you were also so right on all of that. By the way, they are deeply unhappy people. This is the actions of deeply unhappy people. But what was interesting to me is sort of the new Omid Scobie. Do you remember that weird guy, Omid Scobie, who he's disappeared. He's in Hollywood now. I mean, you probably wouldn't recognize him if you saw him walking down the street. You'd think it was like a Michael Jackson tribute act. And I'm sure he's having more cosmetic surgery or whatever he does over there. That's fine. So he's disappeared off the scene. So they have a new woman who all of these stories are being leaked to. The pro Harry and Meghan stories are being leaked to. She's called Charlotte Griffiths. It's quite a smart move from their PR team because it's like she's not on the left. She's someone who's a contributor to GB News and she works for the Mail. So she went on GB News to reveal how she found out about the story. And what's so shocking is she admits that they were telling her about it all week. Watch this.
You come across the story, and how significant is it for potential reconciliation between King Charles and his son?
Oh, well, it's good to be followed in the sun. Yeah, well, here we are at the beginning of the end of the feud. That's all I can say. I mean, I never actually thought I'd say these words here on your show, but this is what my sources are telling me, is that, and they were telling me all week, look out because a big meeting's coming. And the meeting is significant. Although they didn't have a specific agenda, it was very much rapprochement was on the cards. I've had to learn how to pronounce and spell rapprochement this week. I've said that word so many times because that was the word on the lips of my sources. They're like, that's all we're after, is just getting the conversation going again between these two warring sides, opening the lines of communication, and the very first step on the pathway towards the end of the feud.
I mean, I think that's astonishing arrogance, by the way, Father Calvin, because the end of the feud is only going to come if you shut up, Harry and Meghan. So, unfortunately, the fact that you have leaked this to the Mail on Sunday means it's over before it's even began, because the clear ground rules from King Charles is that our conversations have to be conducted in complete privacy. So it's almost over before it began.
And also, who was running the gallery there? The camera wasn't centered. There's a lot of reverb going on. It wasn't good technical side at GB News, was it?
I mean, but yeah. Father Calvin, we know all about that. We know all about that.
We know more than enough about that. But you're right in that it's great that she's letting us know that they're constantly leaking this information to her and wanting to get these stories out. So it's all transparent now. We know what's going on behind the scenes.
Well, indeed. And I mean, look, I've done a lot of work on this, because one of the things that I like to do is sort of expose the way that the mainstream media works when it comes to the royal family. I always promise I'll do the royal stories that you won't get from the Royal Rota. And I know that these leaks are all coming to Charlotte Griffiths via friends of Prince Harry, because I've been following this very closely. And let me just take you through it, because it's been absolutely incessant since August last year, since she's become Harry's propagandist. So look at this. August last year, Duke of Sussex asked former aides to help plot return from his US exile in first stage of rehabilitation strategy. She uses this term, Operation Bring Harry In from the Cold. Then in September, they talk about the fact that Harry's attempt to return to the royal fold is ongoing. Then mid-September, and this one, I knew something was up at this point. Huge rise in support for Prince Harry permanently returning to royal duties. No, there's not. That's just a lie. No one wants him back. Then September the 15th, 40 people Harry must build bridges with if his exile is ever to end. February 8th, the Sussex invited to Ghana, apparently. In May, the Montecito model of the royal family is vital for Harry's rehabilitation, as I'm told he wears the trousers, not Meghan. Well, look, we all know that's another lie. And then in June, Prince Harry will extend olive branch to King Charles and Prince William by inviting them to the next Invictus Games, but finale is set to clash with the Queen's 80th birthday. So my point being, this is a very, very clear strategy now. I find it weird that the Daily Mail, who Prince Harry is suing, wants to get on the let's rehabilitate Harry train, but that is what's happening for whatever reason. I also just want to speak for one moment about what happened to the Daily Telegraph Camilla Tominey at Wimbledon this week. She's obviously a host at GB News as well, but she is a royal commentator, and she's been a pretty harsh critic, but I think a fair critic for some time, of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. And so she's gone to Wimbledon with her husband. And this troll, and she is a troll, vile troll from an organisation that I've previously exposed called the Sussex Squad, Judy in Richmond she's called, posts on X, sat behind Camilla Tominey at Wimbledon. Don't worry, Sussex Squad. I mentioned I was a Harry and Meghan fan and that she blocked me on Twitter for calling her a wanker. Now, Camilla responded to this, saying you were rude and obnoxious and annoyed everyone sitting in our area with your drunken screaming and shouting. Try laying off the source and showing some self-awareness next time you're in public, you vile troll. And actually, it turns out, because I pulled all of these tweets, and this woman, Judy in Richmond, totally obsessed with Camilla Tominey. So look, she's posted all of these things, even talking about the fact that Camilla had apparently named her son Harry, and saying that she's a liar and that she's making money from Meghan Markle. I mean, just crazy stuff, calling her a liar, calling her a grifter, a wanker, just absolutely awful. And Camilla Tominey has actually responded to this on her podcast, The Daily Tea. Watch.
I was just chatting away with my husband and I heard this shout of Camilla. So I kind of obviously instinctively turned around. It's not a name you hear that often.
No.
And
could be the Queen. But...
Could have been. And then I turned and I saw this lady and she was like, oh, I thought it was you. And I was like, oh, hi. So I kind of like lent out my hand to sort of greet her. She was on the row behind. And then she said, oh, I'm a Harry and Meghan fan, so I don't know if you'd want to shake my hand. And you blocked me on Twitter for calling you a something beginning with W.
Barclay banker. Yes.
That's it. So I went, oh, that's a bit objectionable. And so it kind of like slightly sort of ruined the beginning of me watching this match, because I thought, oh, God, there's hostility. I've got hostility towards me on my day off.
Yes.
And let's be honest, just for doing my job. And thought nothing more of it. And then returned home to discover that she had taken a photograph of me and then sort of put it on X with a view to kind of whip up support among her fellow Sussex squatters, which is the name we use to describe trolls who criticise people who aren't, you know, slavishly devoted to Harry and Meghan. And it kicked up a bit of a storm.
It did. I mean, there was a lot of support for you, because it, regardless of the politics of it, it's a really rude and intrusive thing to do.
Now, Father Calvin Robinson, this is actually subhuman behaviour from the Sussex Squad. It's gone totally viral. Surely this would be the opportunity for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle to say, you don't do this. We're constantly talking about trolling. You don't call someone a wanker in the middle of the Wimbledon final where she's out with her husband. But of course, what do we have, Father Calvin? Radio silence from Montecito, because deep down, they back the Sussex squad. They can't speak about it publicly, but they back these vile trolls.
Yeah, the Sussex squad is their army of vile trolls, aren't they? And it shows that they are really vile trolls if they're willing to do it in public, in person, not just behind a keyboard as a keyboard warrior. I feel sorry for Camilla Tominey. I like her. She is a professional journalist. We don't agree on everything, but she does her job very well. And part of her job is commenting on Harry and Meghan. And so, of course, the Sussex squad are going to hate her because she will criticise them publicly on things that they're doing wrong. And that, again, that is what she's paid to do. And that doesn't make her a grifter. It's called having a vocation. Maybe some of these vile trolls should think about getting jobs themselves and then be less obsessed about the lives of celebrities living in other countries. It's all very sad, really.
Yeah, and Emma, obviously there is a safety issue too. I mean, for Camilla, that's a pretty horrid experience. And given Judy into Richmond has been so vile in the past, she would have felt very threatened by that throughout Wimbledon.
Well, I imagine if it had gone round the other way, like let's just imagine, for example, this lady had, heckled and Camilla had turned around and snapped a photo of her and then posted that with a comment. This woman would likely be crying.
Oh, she'd be racist. She'd be racist. She'd be a bully. The mainstream media would be horrified you to get a statement from Harry and Meghan's team. No, you are so right.
Yeah, exactly. So the fact that Camilla has come out and said, listen, you were very loud and rude. You were actually annoying a lot of people in our area. So I don't think you have the upper leg here like you think you do. And like you proved, you go back through this woman's account and she's just completely obsessed with Camilla. So this is clearly, I mean, you could almost maybe say, like, how do you know she didn't go and sort her out? I mean, this is clearly like a big obsession. And this is how the left get like whipped up into this frenzy. And I will say the left, because only someone could be offended by this who's on the left. It is so trivial. But the fact that you're going to go out of your way to ruin someone's day off and heckle them and then take it onto Twitter to continue into a Twitter feud, it's just, why would you do that unless you had this really unhealthy obsession? I don't understand it.
Very, very good point from a very, very fabulous panel. He speaks freely, independent journalist who you should very much follow on X and social media, and our brilliant Father Calvin Robinson. Thank you both so much for being here today. And of course, we will reveal our greatest Britain and Union jackass in just one moment. But first, lots of comments coming in from you on what we've discussed today. Here, Kane, on this whole issue of Rael Braverman quitting Reform UK, posted Braverman joins Rupert Lowe's movement. Saying Braverman should join Rupert Lowe's movement or join Ben Habib's party. Either one is a good move. Reform are reform in name only, and Farage is a snake in the grass. Rogel Dom said, I heard plenty of people out overhearing conversations on the high street today talking about deportations and the fact that we need them. People are definitely waking up. Katrina Williams says, come on, people, dig deep and think. Reform are not the answer. We have only 4 years to get this right, please. Very good question, by the way, from Andrew Carter. Where is Dr. David Bull, chairman of Reform UK? And that is such a shame to me. Honestly, Andrew, I've been thinking the same thing. I really like David Bull. He's a good guy, a good man. But of course, he is unfortunately chairman in name only. The person who is pulling all of those strings at Party HQ is Zia Yusuf. And Bo's head teacher says, and this is in terms of the Afghan migrant scandal, free housing, free healthcare, free benefits, free translators, free Wi-Fi, free cigarettes, free phones, new clothes, driving lessons, and 5-star hotels, all whilst we are living in the abyss. Okay, a reminder of your nominees today for Union Jackass first. Zia Yusuf, nominated by Chris Davies for being Zia useless on steroids in his chairman, not chairman role. Ben Wallace, nominated by Based Gaze for the Afghan resettlement scheme, of course, his refusal to apologise. And Lewis Goodall, nominated by Real Mick Cass for slowly coming to the realisation that the establishment are in fact against us. Who would have thought it? Okay, this is going to be interesting, this one, because the lefty is in third place, which doesn't usually happen. Lewis Goodall with just 8% of the vote. The runner-up is the former Conservative Defence Secretary Ben Wallace, but wow, in a landslide. 60% of you crowning Zia Yusuf, today's Union Jackass. And our greatest Britain winner today, Sandy Peggy, nominated by Just Margaret One for refusing to kowtow to a man in a dress. Now, the context of this, of course, is that Sandy Peggy was suspended by NHS5 last year after she objected to sharing a changing room with a trans medic, Dr. Beth Upton. In a statement released by the campaign group Sex Matters, Ms. Peggy's solicitor said the nurse had been cleared of 4 gross misconduct allegations, and the statement said after reviewing the evidence presented, including written submissions and witness testimony, the panel found that there was insufficient evidence to support a finding of gross misconduct. You could say that this was like a rare win for common sense. So congratulations to Sandy Peggy, today's greatest Britain. We're moving on over to Substack now to continue our royal conversation, and there's proof that Meghan has been cosplaying Catherine, the Princess of Wales, and even Princess Diana since before she met Prince Harry. We'll get into the evidence with royal YouTube sensation P. Dinah. So at this stage, we move off YouTube and Rumble. We move to Substack to continue the conversation in the Uncancelled After Show. All you have to do is sign up at www.outspoken.live. A paid membership, monthly membership, gets you access to the Uncancelled After Show every single weekday, first, live or on demand, and with no ads whatsoever. Okay. We are back with you, though, tomorrow, live, 5 p.m. UK time, midday Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. If you're watching on YouTube or Rumble, please hit subscribe. And most importantly, I promise to keep fighting for you.